Can I share a fun fact about myself with you? I've been setting goals since I was a child. Obviously, at the time, I didn't really know they were goals. They were just things I wanted that I would write or speak, and I'd even share them with others. I can safely say that setting goals from an early age until now has contributed immensely to all that I've accomplished today. Sure, I haven't achieved everything I set out to, but I either keep working towards those things or I align my goals to where I'm at now. My point is that to be successful in life, you should be setting goals and working towards those goals. Not sure where to start? In this episode, I'm sharing some of my best tips for setting goals and staying on track to achieving them. Now, remember how I said I've been setting goals since I was a child? I want to give you a little more context. When I was in the 4th grade, so about 8 or 9 years old, I had a tutor who told me she was an actress. I was mesmerized. Anyone can get started with acting? She gave me a flyer for a movie that was casting extras in Austin. That movie was Any Given Sunday, by the way. And on that flyer, she began to list out the steps one can take to become an actress. So things like get headshots, get an agent, etc. I told my parents I wanted to do this, and I broke out the phone book. Yes, I am that old, and researched talent agencies in Austin. I took my school photo and mailed it out to a few of them, and one of them actually got back to me. She told me to get professional headshots and then she would sign me. I had set a goal and I achieved it without even knowing what I was doing. Fast forward to college, the first real goal-setting list I found from my past was in 2008 for the 2009 year. I was 20 years old at the time, and I listed out things that I wanted to achieve for the year. Things like get good grades, be a catch for future relationships, and audition more. Oh my gosh, how my life was so much simpler back then. Now, like I said, I have not achieved everything I set out to over the years, but I can confidently say that setting goals has definitely contributed to the success I've had thus far in life. So let's get into my best tips for actually setting goals. Now, you've likely already heard the term SMART goals. I know I've talked about it on this podcast before, but I want to spend some time here because it's very important. The SMART criteria was first mentioned in a paper published for Management Review magazine in 1981 by George T. Durant. The publication outlined the importance of objectives and the difficulties of setting them. The SMART criteria was originally intended for managers, but has transitioned as a criteria for setting goals for any part of life. So personal goals, professional goals, etc. So what is the SMART criteria? Well, SMART is an acronym. So the S stands for specific. So you want to target a specific area for improvement. M is measurable. So you want to be able to quantify or at least suggest an indicator of progress. A is achievable. So specify how the goal will be achieved. R is realistic. State what results can realistically be achieved given available resources. And T is time related. So specify when the results can be achieved. So when setting your goals, you'll want to ensure that each of these criteria is met. So get specific with your goal. Think about how you can track your progress to ensure you actually reach the goal. Specify what you are going to do to reach the goal. Be realistic with your goal in relation to your current situation and give yourself a time frame for when you can achieve that goal, remembering to be realistic for your situation. So let's take an example. A basic goal would be, I want to be debt-free. Very basic, not very specific, not really measurable. There's no time specificity here. So that would be the basic goal. If we were to convert this to a SMART goal, it would be something along the lines of, my goal is to be debt-free by December 31st, 2025. I currently have $10,000 worth of debt, and after reviewing my budget, I can contribute $100,000 towards my debt each month. As long as I don't add to my debt and I contribute $1,000 each month, I will be debt-free by my goal date. I can track my progress with a monthly Excel spreadsheet. So notice that the basic goal, I want to be debt-free, is very vague. While it certainly expresses what the intention is, it does not provide any specifics on how, when, or what will be done to actually achieve the goal. The SMART goal, on the other hand, provides a specific target date, a specific and realistic plan of attack, and a means of tracking progress until the goal is achieved. So, same goal, just two very distinct differences. So, whenever you set your goals, you'll want to make sure that they are following that SMART criteria. I think this will make sure they are the most impactful goals that they can be. Now, I do want to add that sometimes things come up and goals aren't achieved in the timeframes we set. It's okay if your goals change or if your timeframes change, especially if things happen outside of your control. I think the point is to just keep working for the things you want out of life. So that was the best tip I could provide you for actually setting goals. Let's get into my best tips for staying on track to achieve your goals. And I will share that these are actually things I do for my goals, and it makes a huge difference. So the first thing is I look at my goals every day. In fact, I look at my goals multiple times a day because I have them listed in multiple places. As a part of my morning routine, I journal my thoughts, feelings, fears, and accomplishments every morning. And included in each of my daily journal entries is a list of the goals I'm working on during the year. That's the first time I see my goals in the day. I have my annual goals written on my dry erase board in my office, and the dry erase board is on my wall to my left. So anytime I look up and over, my goals, along with some messages of inspiration, are in plain sight. That's usually the second time I see my goals throughout the day. The final place I see my goals is in my OneNote. You may recall from City Girl Savings Podcast episode number 110, 5 Ways a Type A Personality Stays Organized. I'll link to it in the show notes. That OneNote has been a part of my business startup ritual for some time now. I list what tasks I have scheduled to get done for that day, what tasks are the most important, and what I accomplished. But I also include in that daily template my annual goals in each day's new OneNote tab. So that makes 3 different places and times throughout the day where I see my goals. This means I am constantly reminded of what I'm working towards, which automatically keeps me on track. So keeping your goals front and center on a consistent basis is one of the best ways to make sure you're constantly working towards them. Feel free to add your goals to your journal templates, write them down, put them on sticky notes, put them on your mirror. The point is to make sure that you are aware of what your goals are at all times. The next way I stay on track to achieving my goals is by making sure that my goals are aligned with my values. So have you ever set a goal that wasn't aligned with what you really wanted? I mean, maybe you set the goal because you saw a friend or an Instagram influencer set it. Maybe you set the goal because your family told you that that's what you needed to do to improve in that area in your life. Maybe you set the goal because you didn't know what else to set. How did it go when trying to reach those goals? Probably not well, right? I mean, I've been there too. When I would set goals that weren't truly in line with what I wanted or my own values, I would inevitably give up on those goals because they didn't actually mean anything to me. They didn't matter. I found that making sure I set goals that are aligned with my values and how I want my future self to be helps me stay on track. These types of goals are worth working towards for me, and anything else is just false advertising for yourself. So whenever you are setting goals that you truly want to achieve, just make sure those goals are for you. they are aligned with your values, and you're not just setting them to make someone else happy. Okay, the next tip I have for staying on track with your goals is giving yourself grace if goal timeframes need to be adjusted. And this is something that, again, I apply to myself as well. I sort of touched on this, but let's pull the thread through. And let me just say, full transparency, I just recently started doing this for myself. In the past, I used to beat myself up for not reaching goals or not being on track. Then major life events happened to me, as I'm sure you know, and I learned that reaching goals is not the most important thing. Sometimes there will be distractions that require your attention at the expense of your goals. That's okay. I have learned to adjust my time frames and give myself grace as I get back on track towards working towards the goal. So if you want to stay on track with the goals that matter most to you, be kind and gracious to yourself. You can still hit the goal even if it's not exactly when you expected. I think a big part of just getting older, growing in your wisdom is understanding that you can't control everything. Not everything is going to happen the way you want it to, when you want it to happen. But amazing things can still happen. So one of my best tips for staying on track with your goals is just being kind and gracious to yourself and giving yourself that grace if you need to adjust your goal timeframes. Okay, the final tip for staying on track to achieving your goals is sharing your goals with your support system and community. And this has been incredibly impactful for me. The final tip that I want to share with you today is one that truly keeps me on track with my goals, and it's making sure that I share what I'm working on with my family, my friends, and my community. So speaking your goals out loud makes them real. Telling people what you want to achieve adds a different level of accountability, and whether those people check in on your progress or not, you know that you've shared your goals with them. You know that you've stated to the universe, to these people, that you want to achieve these things. So if you don't do the work to make those goals happen, your words didn't mean much. And I don't know about you, but I value being a person who does what she says she will do. Whether I reach the goal or not, as long as I show up every day and work towards those goals, I'm winning. So be vocal about the things you want to achieve. Share those goals with your family, your support system, your community, a virtual community, your friends. Just speak them out loud. It gives them a greater sense of purpose for you. Makes a big difference. There is nothing more fulfilling than setting a goal and achieving it. And I feel like when you do so, you build so much confidence and self-esteem just going through the goal setting and goal achieving process. It's an amazing thing. So I hope I've encouraged you to set goals that matter and do what you need to make sure you reach those goals.